text 11, right?
Yes,
Am I right?
Mataji, 4311.
Yeah, in the matter of talks between Lord Shiva and Sati. And so who's talking now? My sister. Yes, Sati is telling Shiva. Tvai etad ascharya ajatma mayaya vinirmitam bhati gunatrayatmakam tatapi aham yoshid atat atatva vichate dina didrikshe bhavame bhavakshitam kshitim. This manifested cosmos is a wonderful creation of the interaction of the three material modes or the external energy of the Supreme Lord. This truth is fully known to you, yet I am but a poor woman, and as you know, I am not conversant with the truth. Therefore, I wish to see my birthplace once more. Nice excuse. So she say, Dakshayani Sati knew very well that her husband, Lord Shiva, was not very much interested in the glaring manifestation of the material world, which is caused by the interaction of the three modes of nature. Therefore, she addressed her husband as Aja, which refers to one who has transcended the bondage of birth and death, or one who has realized his eternal position. She stated, the illusion of accepting the perverted reflection, the material or cosmic manifestation to be real, is not present in you because you're self realized. For you, the attraction of social life and the consideration that someone is father, someone is mother, someone is sister, which are illusory relationships, is already over. But because I'm a poor woman, I'm not so advanced in transcendental realization. Therefore, naturally, these appear to me as real. Only less intelligent persons accept this perverted reflection of the spiritual world to be real. Those who are under the spell of the external energy accept this manifestation to be a fact, whereas those who are advanced in spiritual realization know that it is illusion. Actual reality is elsewhere in the spiritual world. But as far as I am concerned, Sati said, I do not have much knowledge about self-realization. I am poor because I do not know the actual facts. I am attracted by my birthplace and I want to see it. One who has attraction for his birthplace, for his body, and for other such items mentioned in the Bhagavatam is considered to be like an ass or a cow. Sati might have heard all this many times from her husband, Lord Shiva. But because she was a woman, Yoshit, she still hankered after the same material objects of attention. Um, she was a woman, Yoshit, she still hankered after the same material objects of affection. The word Yoshit means one who's enjoyed. Therefore, woman is called Yoshit. In spiritual advancement, association with Yoshit is always restricted because if one is like a play doll in the hands of Yoshit, then all the spiritual advancement is at once stopped. It is said, those who are just like playthings in the hands of a woman, Yoshit Krida Mrigeshu, cannot make any advancement in spiritual realization. So she herself is saying, let's see, you have to come. But you can see how this is the, I mean, perfect example of how the wife might try to tempt the husband and give all reasons. But Shiva didn't budge. he was, she said that you are very spiritually advanced. You don't, I mean, first of all, Shiva just appeared from Brahmaji's and this thing. He doesn't have any family or anything. He has no such attractions or attachments, nothing. And that also in his family life also is always sitting and meditating. Yes, so she said for you the place of birth and all that is nothing. But whereas, I mean, she is in charge of material energy and she's playing the part of Maya Devi. And Shiva, actually, he is, because he's in touch with her, in contact with Maya Devi, that is why he is considered a little bit less than Vishnu. Because Vishnu is fully free from Maya, whereas Shiva is interacting with Maya And she is representing Maya, and she's saying that I am attached. For me, this material world is real. Now I want to go to the place of my birth. My father, she was the pet daughter of her father. And with all that, she really, and so many, a mother and all her sisters, all like stars, they're all married off to very, very great rishis. And, she naturally, affection, she wanted to see all of them. Also, she's saying, and Prabhupada is saying, Yoshit means one who's enjoyed. Therefore, a woman is called Yoshit. In spiritual advancement, association with Yoshit is always restricted because if one is like a play doll, that is what the thing is, that this is for materialistic thing. If a woman, um, natural, if she says something, there are many good things also. A woman inspires, a wife inspires the husband to do good things also. But in certain things, she may have weaknesses like this, because, without consideration. Okay, it's good to, nothing wrong in having affection for the place of your birth, parents, all this. But in her case, it's very special. Daksha, her father was really offensive to Shiva. Considering all this, she should have controlled herself and followed Shiva. That is the thing. See, maybe this is just for our example. Nothing wrong in having affection, attachment, and all that. But if it is not conducive to Krishna consciousness, then you should renounce that. Forget it. Okay, what she chose Shiva, right? She only, there was an option. Her father said, don't go there, don't go there. He said, we both are like, all her family members also advised her, you can never be happy because father hates him like anything. How can you get married to someone? And she is very much attached, she was pet of her father and all that. They all warned her, don't. Of course, she is eternal consort of Shiva. She has to marry him only. But that is, she chose Shiva then she'll have to make that sacrifice. That is what, you can't have the cake and eat it too. She wants to defy her father, marry Shiva, and also expect that father will be nice to her, and then she will. Everybody is frightened of Daksha. Everybody want her. Only she felt confident of her love, that she thought her father loves me so much. For my sake, he will change his mind and be nice to Shiva. This is her illusion. But men's false ego is far outweighs all that. False ego is something, I don't know, unless Daksha, Shiva's, they are strong personalities. Shiva is also very strong. He didn't succumb to her Maya. Daksha is in Maya, and his false ego is much more than real affection for his daughter. So he is one material end, and he forgot his spiritual duty towards his daughter and son-in-law. And husband is completely spiritual, so he didn't listen to her. So Sati is really being tossed between one end and the other. Complete spiritual, complete material. Two men in her life who are very important to her, most important. And one is completely spiritual and the other is completely materialistic. So really, she is like she is in a very difficult situation. Pashya prayantir abhavanya yoshito api alankrita kanta sakha vara varutasa sha yasham vrajadbhi shiti kantamanditam nabho vimane kalahamsa pandubhi. O never born, O blue-throated one, not only my relatives, but also other women dressed in nice clothes and decorated with ornaments are going there with their husbands and friends. Just see how their flocks of white airplanes have made the entire sky very beautiful. Here, Lord Shiva is addressed as Abhava, which means one who's never born. Although generally he is known as Bhava, one who is born. Rudra, Lord Shiva, is actually born from between the eyes of Brahma, who's called Swayambhu, because he is not born of any human being or material creature, but is born directly from the lotus flower which grows from the abdomen of Vishnu. When Lord Shiva is addressed here as Abhava, this may be taken to mean one who has never felt material miseries. Sati wanted to impress. Bhava is, yeah, bhava, I don't know, maybe material. Bhava is uh, one who is born, bhava. There is also bhavan and the bhava maha. Bhava is also material world. So he is never felt material miseries. Abhava, he is not material. Um, Sati wanted to impress upon her husband that even those who were not related to her father were also going, to say nothing of herself, was intimately related with him. Lord Shiva is addressed here as blue throated. Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison and kept it in his throat, not swallowing it or allowing it to go down to his stomach, and thus his throat became blue. Since then, he has been known as Nilakanta or blue throated. The reason that Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison was for others' benefit. When the ocean was churned by the demigods and the demons, the churning at first produced poison. So, because of the poisonous ocean might have affected others who were not so advanced, Lord Shiva drank all the ocean water. In other words, he could drink such great amount of poison for others' benefit. And now, since his wife was personally requesting him to go to her father's house, even if he did not wish to give that permission, he should do so out of his great kindness. Look, this is what is taking advantage, right? You're very merciful, you're very kind to everyone, so be kind to me also. Now you should go to my father's house. She was so much overcome by emotion, she didn't use her intelligence at all. That's what she said. This is what attachment does. Your intelligence stops working. She could, I mean, Shiva gave her the intelligence. We can see how he didn't just say, no, I'm not coming. He explained to her very kindly. He's very, very empathic. All that he did. But because she had decided that I'm a woman, so I will be like this only. Prabhupada said, if you keep thinking you're a woman, and this, how will you advance? We have to go beyond that when the circumstance requires. Not that, I mean, it's not that you can't have affection, attachment, and all, but in such a case, it is not a normal case. It's a terrible case. Shiva knew what extent he can go. He hated him. In fact, that itself she should have been afraid for Lord Shiva and been protective about him. I don't want him to go there, and if my father insults him, what will happen to him? She should have had that. That's what her intelligence didn't work that time, and she got, disturbed by people dressing up and going in the airplanes and all shallow things. That why should that become a big important thing? That's what happened anyway. That is illusion. That is Maya. कथं सुताया पितृगेह कौतुकं निशम्य देह सुरवर्य नेङ्गते अनाहुत अपि अभियन्ति सौहृदं भर्तुर्गुरोर्देह कृतश्च केतनम्. O best of the demigods, how can the body of a daughter remain undisturbed when she hears that some festive event is taking place in her father's house, even though you may be considering that I have not been invited? There is no harm if one goes to the house of one's friend, husband, spiritual master, or father without invitation. Very nice. She's giving like very good excuses, in normal times, perfect arguments. तन्मे प्रसीदेदम् अमर्त्यवाञ्छितं कर्तुं भवान् कारुणिको बटार्हति त्वया त्वयात्मनोर्देहम् अडभ्रचक्षुषा निरूपिता मानुगृहाण याचिता. O immortal Shiva, please be kind towards me and fulfill my desire. You have accepted me as half of your body. Therefore, please show kindness towards me and accept my request. See, it's all about herself. She only thinking about myself. I want to go there and I want to enjoy. So you do, because you're very kind and you're liberated. Nothing matters to you. So you only do for me. And you've accepted me as half of your body. Therefore, Please show kindness. Imagine such great entreaties. And Shiva is not disturbed. He refused to listen to her. Whereas you see Rama, when Sita, I mean, that is not that Rama is really henpecked or anything. After all, he sent Sita away to the forest and all that. But at that time, because it was required, anyway, we see how Sita asked for that golden thing, and she told her, no need, this looks like a Rakshasa, let's not go. She said, no, 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 it will be so nice in the palace, all the people, and it'll be a memory. It's we'll have fond memories of our Vanavas over there and all kinds of superficial things. Simply everybody will say, cute, cute in the palace. Is that something to, um, you know, he's saying it's a Rakshasa. She has seen so many Rakshasas being killed by Lord Rama. And so if Rama is saying it doesn't look real, it's like a Rakshasa, let's not do. So then normally Sita is also very intelligent, very wise and all that. But this is what? This is for our this thing. Rama and Sita, they came and showed for our instruction only. So then you get just put all external considerations. So cute, so beautiful, it'll be nice memory. What about Rakshasa? That part she didn't even think. So Ram, this thing. But you see Shiva, he is stuck on his this thing. Rishiruvacha evam giritra priyabhibhasita pratyabhya pratyabhyadhatta प्रहसन सुहृप्रिय संस्मारितो मर्मविद हुवाग इशून यान आहको विश्वसृजाम samakshata. The great sage Maitreya said, Lord Shiva, the deliverer of the hill Kailas, having thus been addressed by his dear wife, replied smilingly. He didn't get angry with her, he smiled. So that's why he's very, very nice. And replied smilingly, although at the same time he remembered the malicious, heart piercing speeches delivered by Daksha before the guardians of the universal affairs. What he had really insulted Shiva, he stopped all this thing being offerings, being oblations to him. What all he has done, Shiva could not forget that, not because of false ego, but he knew what a character he was. Purport. When Lord Shiva heard from his wife about Daksha, the psychological effect was that he immediately remembered the strong words spoken against him in the assembly of the guardians of the universe. And remembering these words, he was sorry at heart, although to please his wife he smiled. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that a liberated person is always in mental equilibrium in both distress and happiness of this material world. Therefore, the question may now be raised why a liberated personality like Lord Shiva was so unhappy because of the words of Daksha. The answer is given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura. Lord Shiva is Atma Rama, or situated in complete self realization. But because he is the incarnation in charge of the material mode of ignorance, Tamoguna, he is sometimes affected by the pleasure and pain of the material world. The difference between pleasure and pain of this material world and that of the spiritual world is that in the spiritual world, the effect is qualitatively absolute. Therefore, one may feel sorry in the absolute world, but the manifestation of so called pain is always full of bliss. For instance, once Lord Krishna in his childhood was chastised by his mother Yashoda, and Lord Krishna cried. But although he shed tears from his eyes, this is not to be considered a reaction of the mode of ignorance, for the incident was full of transcendental pleasure. When Krishna was playing in so many ways, sometimes it appeared that he caused distress to the gopis, but actually such dealings were full of transcendental bliss. That's the difference between material and spiritual worlds. The spiritual world, where everything is pure, is pervertedly reflected in this material world. Since everything in the spiritual world is absolute, in the spiritual varieties of apparent pleasure and pain, there is no perception other than eternal bliss. Whereas in the material world, because everything is contaminated by the modes of material nature, there are feelings of pleasure and pain. Therefore, because Lord Shiva, although a fully self realized person, was in charge of the material mode of ignorance, he felt sorrow. That's what. That is why he is considered not, I mean, like milk with a little touch of yogurt. I mean, or rather, he is milk which is transformed into yogurt. Because of this touch of, he is in charge of ignorance, and sometimes he is getting influenced by that. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha त्वयोदितं शोभनम् एव शोभने अनाहुत अपि अभियन्ति बन्धुषु ते यदि अनुत्पादित दोषदृष्टयो बलीयशानात्मय मदेन मन्युना. The great Lord replied, "My dear beautiful wife, you have said that one may go to a friend's house without being invited, and this is true, provided such a friend does not find fault with a guest because of bodily identification and thereby become angry towards him." Lord Shiva could foresee that as soon as Sati reached her father's house, her father, Daksha, being too puffed up because of bodily identification, would be angry at her presence. And although she was innocent and faultless, he would be mercilessly angry towards her. Lord Shiva warned that since her father was too puffed up by his material possessions, he would be angry, and this would be intolerable for her. Therefore, it was better that she not go. This fact was already experienced by Lord Shiva because, although Lord Shiva was faultless, Daksha had cursed him in so many harsh words. The Dakshayani or Sati could not see the fault of her father. She had big hopes. This is what affection does. You know, you see only the rosy side of the person, and you cannot recognize their faults. This happens. We can't see the faults of our loved ones sometimes because of too much affection. But this is Shiva. Anyway, Shiva is also, she could have trusted his judgment, but she couldn't believe. She thought her father loved her so much and he will be so happy to see her. And so, because of that, all the past will be forgotten. She had all these rosy dreams in her eye, this thing, but Shiva had already seen, he knows what's his character is too puffed up, and a puffed up person doesn't have really deep affection. Puffed up false ego is more important than all this material affection. Like we saw Kamsa, the minute he heard that Devaki's son is going to kill him, immediately he changed, all that affection disappeared. So that is how Daksha is not a demon, but he had this demoniac quality which had to be removed. And Shiva only mercifully removed it by chopping off his head. So much ahankar that no intelligence went into his head. And he knew he was such a difficult case. And he told her, don't go there. And that too, what? He didn't shout at her. I mean, he didn't lose his patience or anything. He smiled and very nicely, very lovingly, he told her, yes, you can go to a friend's house without being invited. And this is true, provided such a friend does not find fault with the guest because of bodily identification. He thought he is so opulent and smart and beautiful and royal and all that. And then here is Lord Shiva coming wearing deer skin. He felt very ashamed of him. I mean, those who are very materialistic, they see to all these things. They feel very ashamed if they have to interact with people or be considered close with people who don't dress stylishly like them. So he was very superficial in those respects, and so that is why he said, "Don't go," because he is completely on the bodily level, and he will find fault. Then where? How can he go? And thereby become angry towards him. Vidya tapo vitta vapur vaya kulai satam gunai shadbir asattametarai smritau hatayam bhritamana durdharasha stabdhana pashyantihi dama bhuyasam. Although the six qualities, education austerity, wealth, beauty, youth, and heritage are for the highly elevated. One who is proud of possessing them becomes blind, and thus he loses his good sense and cannot appreciate the glories of great personalities. So even if they have qualities, six qualities: education, austerity. Also, Daksha did also, I think, severe austerities. He had many things. He had wealth, he had beauty, youth, and heritage. I mean, he was very Vedic also. He sent all his sons to do tapasya. Purport. It may be argued that since Daksha was very learned, wealthy, and austere, and had descended from a very exalted heritage, how could he be unnecessarily angry towards another? The answer is that when the qualities of good education, good parentage, beauty, and sufficient wealth are misplaced in a person who's puffed up by all these possessions, they produce a very bad result. That is why, with all these qualities, if somebody is humble, then it stands out. Among all the materialistic people of today, somebody who's really, very, very wealthy and opulent and very successful and also showing all humility is Mukesh Ambani. That is why everyone likes him, and he's because he's very humble. I don't know. He must be have done a lot of something, some good thing he has done, punya karma, by which he is not overtaken by too much pride and all that. He imagined for his sons this thing. He went and personally served all the villagers. He made his son and daughter-in-law also do all that. So he knows the value of humility. Then people can appreciate. Suppose he was arrogant and all that, nobody will bother about him. So that is what when you may have all that of a highly elevated one who is proud of possessing them becomes blind, and thus he loses his good sense and cannot appreciate the glories of great personalities. That's why they are also very appreciative of ISKCON and all that. So, sadhus, that's what purport. It may be argued that since Daksha was a wealthy, a very and austere and had descended from a very exalted heritage, how could he be unnecessarily angry towards another? The answer is that when the qualities of good education, good parentage, beauty, and sufficient wealth are misplaced in a person who's puffed up by all these possessions, they produce a very bad result. Milk is very nice food, but when milk is touched by an envious serpent, it becomes poisonous. Similarly, material assets such as education, wealth, beauty, and good parentage are undoubtedly nice, but when they decorate persons of malicious nature, then they act adversely. Another example given by Chanakya Pandita is that a serpent that has a jewel on its head is still fearful because it's a serpent. A serpent by nature is envious of other living entities, even though they be faultless. When a serpent bites another creature, it is not necessarily because the other creature is at fault. It is the habit of the serpent to bite innocent creatures. Similarly, although Daksha was qualified by many material assets, because he was proud of his possessions and because he was envious, all these qualities were polluted. It is sometimes, therefore, detrimental for a person advancing in spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness to possess such material assets. Kunti Devi, while offering prayers to Krishna, addressed him as Akinchana Gochara, one who is easily approached by those who are bereft of all material acquisitions. Material exhaustion is an advantage for advancement in Krishna consciousness, although if one is conscious of his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one can utilize one's material assets, such as great learning and beauty and exalted ancestry, for the service of the Lord. Then such assets become glorious. In other words, unless one is Krishna conscious, all his material possessions are zero. But when the zero is by the side of the Supreme One, it at once increases its value to 10. Unless situated in the side of the Supreme One, 0 is always 0. One may add 100 zeros, but the value still remains 0. Unless one's material assets are used in Krishna consciousness, they may play havoc and degrade the possessor. So the quality, I mean, he knew that Daksha, for all his outer covering, is very polished and very learned and austere also, and beautiful, youthful, and he's got a lot of cultural heritage. Still, because he became proud and then he thought everything he should have. Nobody should be better than me. That is the envious nature, no? Like Hiranyakashipu. Everything he had, Vishnu gave him, okay, have. You are only the in charge of this whole universe. But then he couldn't bear the fact that Vishnu is not under him. Why should Vishnu be worshipped by everyone? He couldn't tolerate that. He had everything. But unless the demon, the real thing is that he wants to supersede Vishnu. That is his thing. That is why nothing gives him happiness, or even impersonalism is also a kind of this atheism, because you want to become God yourself and you merge, and now I'm God, but still he's not satisfied. It can never be. Only satisfaction comes when we use everything in Krishna's service, because he is the owner, and we use it, but to satisfy Krishna. Then that's a perfect thing. Nobody is asking us to take sannyas, but you understand that Krishna has only given it to you. He is the real owner. You're the tenant, you're the servant, and use it, glorify him, to spread his this thing, messages, to live nicely in the service of Krishna, and be a source to please Krishna in all ways. Then that's perfect. So, and then all the zeros next to one will make a big value. Otherwise, it's zero. Without Krishna, everything is zero. Okay. Naitadrishan, only one more. नैतादृशानां स्वजनव्यपेक्षया गृहान् प्रतीयाद् अनवस्थितात्मनां ये अभ्यागतान् वक्र दियाभिचक्षते आरोपित भ्रूभिर् अमरसनाक्षिभिः. One should not go to anyone's house, even on the consideration of his being a relative or a friend, when the man is disturbed in his mind and looks upon the guest with raised eyebrows and angry eyes. Purport: however low a person may be, he is never unkind to his children, wife, and nearest kin. Even a tiger is kind to its cubs, for within the animal kingdom, the cubs are treated very nicely. Since Sati was the daughter of Daksha, however cruel and contaminated he might be, naturally, it was expected that he would receive her very nicely. But here it is indicated by the word anavastita that such a person cannot be trusted. Tigers are very kind to their cubs, but it is also known that sometimes they eat them. Malicious persons should not be trusted because they're always unsteady. Thus, Sati was advised not to go to her father's house, because to accept such a father as a relative and go to his house without being properly invited was not suitable. So, this is words of wisdom. He said that he gets, he's envious and it cannot be trusted what he would do. He looks upon Shiva with blazing eyes, and because Sati is not married to him, he is angry with Sati also. She thinks, oh, now I'm married, but then he will think only of me. Oh, he will not consider him now. He thinks now she belongs to Shiva. So the minute she sees Sati, he'll only think of Shiva. Who asked her to go and marry him? He must have been, he will naturally feel intense anger towards her that she doesn't realize. Whereas Shiva, he knows his nature. This is what it will be. And then he's saying, okay, he may be a father and all that, but you have to consider, what is the nature of his this thing. Uh, however, it's expected that she is expecting that however cruel and contaminated he might be, naturally it was expected that he would receive her very nicely. But it is here indicated by the word anavastita that such a person cannot be trusted, because tigers are very kind to their cubs, but it is also known that sometimes they eat them. Malicious persons should not be trusted because they're always unsteady. So, this is how we have to use our intelligence in deciding what's the correct course of action. When we don't use our intelligence, we'll be sentimental like Sati. Oh, he is my father only. Nah, I can go there. Why do you prevent me? But see how the same situation, you can react sentimentally, or you can react like Shiva, very soberly, self controlled, and intelligently. What's going to happen? Tataribhirna vyatate shilimukai shete arditango hridayena duyatam swanam yata vakradiyam duruktibhir divanisham tapyati marmatadita tadita. Lord Shiva continued, if one is hurt by the arrows of an enemy, one is not aggrieved as when cut by the unkind words of a relative. For such grief continues to rend one's heart day and night. Sati might have concluded that she would take the risk of going to her father's house, and even if her father spoke unkindly against her, she would be tolerant, as a son sometimes tolerates the reproaches of his parents. But Lord Shiva reminded her that she should not be able to tolerate such unkind words, because natural psychology indicates that although one can suffer harm from an enemy and not mind so much, because pain inflicted by an enemy is natural, when one is hurt by the strong words of a relative, one suffers the effects continuously, day and night, and sometimes the injury becomes so intolerable that one commits suicide, which is what Sati was going to do. And Shiva knew that he would be, even Shiva could tolerate, because he was not, they didn't have such a close relationship. But here Sati was his own daughter, and she had so much high hopes of, all the affection that she got all her life. She thought father is going to be the same, and so on. But he knew that he will view her as Shiva's wife, and he will naturally get angry, and his unkind words will make her not able to be tolerate such unkind words. And there, especially towards Shiva, she flared up only. Of course, he insulted her, he didn't even look at her, he did all that. And her mother and sisters, they came and they wanted to be nice to her, but she was not really satisfied with that. She wanted a father, because she had been his pet all along, and she had special this thing feelings towards him, and he didn't even glance at her. And when she actually, and then especially she became, for herself, she didn't feel so bad. She felt bad when she noticed that Shiva was not being invited in that yajna. Only other devatas and no, Shiva was not at all invited. That hurt her so much. And she actually lost her cool, and then she walked off. She said, I'm going. But Daksha, I don't know what got him. He could have let her go. That would have been fine. He stopped her and said nasty things about Shiva. Very bad, derogatory words. Then it was like chopping off her whole, she thought that what's the point of living to hear all this about Lord Shiva? Shiva foresaw all these things. He knew, and she knew how tender and delicate she was about, women are, they are emotional, soft, delicate. They cannot tolerate all these things, nasty things like this. That too, she goes with so much expectation. Shiva knew all this, what's going to happen. And that's why he's advising her. So from here, we can learn that we have to, Mataji should, sometimes not always, okay, we have the spontaneity, emotions, a very good intuition, all that is there. But sometimes, we should also consider not always by just sentiment or not just seeing the normal thing, oh, what is there? Daughter will feel like going to father, like that. The, apparent thing is, there is nothing wrong. But you have to see time, place, and situation. In this particular instant, father cannot be trusted at all. Nothing wrong. If you just don't bother to go there or stop all your feelings, you have to, rather than go there and suffer. Here you suffer. Sitting here, she could have meditated and overcome the pain that she was not invited, and how he is so how she hates Shiva. It would have been painful, but she could have sat here and meditated, and instead of going there. That is what. So we have to see how impulsive behavior, very dangerous. And Shiva knew what's going to happen. He knew he's going to lose his wife. And how would he have felt? You just see. He didn't want to go there also because he knew what's going to happen. And that would have been even worse if Shiva had gone there and right in front of her eyes, Sati saw how Daksha treated Shiva. It would have been more painful and still should have committed suicide. So Shiva knew that, so sometimes, we don't like what we hear. We want to do something and somebody says, no, don't do it. And we get, it can be day to day, ordinary things also. I want to do it. No, don't do it because this. They're explaining also, or they said that, or they didn't even explain. Don't immediately jump to conclusion. No, I'm going to do what I feel like. No, we should analyze what is it? Why am I being stopped? Maybe Krishna is showing me something, or, why did that person say that? We have to analyze, not act whimsically, impulsively, emotionally. If we act like that, for that moment, you might think, oh, I got my way. Sati just walked off and she went in anger. What is the point? She became angry with Shiva because he didn't allow her to go. That, it was most inauspicious the way she just barged. She just left, Shiva, and she went. I'm going to do what I want. And Shiva, of course, he was very concerned. He didn't go after her. He sent his servant, go take her properly. He sent the vehicle and also that she'll go in, proper way and protection. She knew, and amazingly, Nandi was not there at the time when all these insults was happening. If Nandi had been there, he would have just pulled her and taken her away or something. He would have told, no, no, no. He went to bring Shiva. At that time, nobody was there. So alone, she made this decision to commit suicide in front of everyone, and everybody kept quiet. Imagine. I don't know. These are all things which happen, and we have to learn from that. That ultimately we have to use our own intelligence. We can't blame other people. We can't say, why didn't they do this? She wouldn't have listened to anyone anyway. unless Shiva came. And by the time it was too late, because Nandi has to go slowly, he's not very fast. He has to go there and bring Shiva, and Shiva might not have agreed to come even. And so all these things. But what had to happen finally. We have to take it as this thing, destiny. But while we are doing, I mean, we are tested on how we react to situations, not even what actually happens. But in this particular situation, how do you react? And we learn from that. That is, if we take care of ourselves about self control and how to react in situations, results will always be good. If she had not gone there, none of this would have happened. She would have lived happily with Shiva, and then maybe later she could have left it to Krishna. Okay, whenever it is, if it should happen, it will happen that Shiva and Daksha will this thing, get together and be nice. She could have left it to Krishna. Instead, she thought, I will go and make it okay. Because of me, he will change. All these big fantasies she had. So this is what listening to the mind, difference between listening to the mind and listening to Paramatma. Sometimes it may be difficult. If you always surrender to the mind, then we'll get carried away by the mind. Any of us could have also done like that if we are, we shouldn't think, oh, I won't be like Sati. Or who knows, if we are attached, we'll also do like that only. And so it's a very good lesson for us that even small things, we don't go by sentiment. Sometimes, we don't like something and somebody says, no, don't do. I mean, somebody means those who matter, or Krishna arranges that is some obstacle is coming, then we should, oh, I wanted to do this way only. How long you're going to keep on trying? Okay, if there is an obstacle, then we have to consider, am I doing the right thing? Am I just getting swept away by emotions? Let me chant, let me this thing. So we have to become very calm, maybe even talk with devotees or consult Guru if it's a very important major thing. And then we should take decision. So all this in Bhagavatam, if we learn, it is meant for our purification and lesson for us. Otherwise, what Shiva and Parvati, they have come here for our sake. They are from the eternal world. So all this leelas is to train us and learn from this and avoid their mistakes. Okay, Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Mataji, Hare Krishna. So this is just Leela Mataji, right? Because she's the internal consort of Lord Shiva. So she would not behave, but just to teach the conditioned soul relations, she is behaving like this, right? Sati?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay, Mataji. Okay. And one incident that reminds me, Mataji, regarding this education, austerity, and all. So this is you may know, but I'm just telling about it. So Radheshyam Prabhu, His Grace Radheshyam Prabhu. So
Mm,
he did everything for that new temple. He collected fund and everything. He was the instrumental when the Pune temple was built. So that
mm,
time they invited like everybody, like President of India, Pranab Mukherjee, and then that time the Deven Fadnavis was the CM of Maharashtra and Uddhav Thackeray. They all came. So Prabhuji
mhm.
came and he went and he paid obeisance to everybody, but he was not in that munch or stage where everybody was there.
Who was
So
not there?
Radhesham Prabhu, he was not sitting with them. He went
Ah,
them, he went there and he just paid obeisances. And he
mm,
went to the ordinary people where the ordinary people were sitting. So everybody was
mm,
saying, "Nee, you did so much and why you are not there? You go and you sit there." And he said,
mm,
no, he did not go there at all actually. So
mhm,
there was a president's speech and everything happened and all program happened and he did not go there at all. He was just sitting and he was watching the way other people are watching. So then
mm,
devotees were insisting a lot and he did not go there. So he said why I'm not going there is I should not develop false ego that I have done everything. So that's what I'm not
mm.
going there. I want to be this way only.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Very good example.
Yeah, and Gaurang Prabhu, he was saying one time, like there was ISKCON was doing some open area, some they put the pandals and they were doing some programs. So lot of tents were there. So they took the approval because we all follow the process. So he took the approval, but a IPS officer was passing by, DIG, Deputy that Inspector General, and he stopped by and he says, "Who is doing this program and all?" So they said, "ISKCON people." So he said, "Where is the approval?" So they all went to Gaurang Prabhu. So Gaurang Prabhu came and he said, "Where is the approval?" So Prabhuji said, like, and that time there were not smartphones and everything. There were that time only those keypad phones were there. So he was saying, like, a person who is bringing that approval is like vehicle has some problem. So he will reach here in 4 5 hours after that vehicle is repaired, and then that time we will show to you, or you tell us wherever you are, we'll show you that one. So he got uncontrolled and he started scolding in front of 10,000 people to Gaurang Prabhu and said, "No, you are all not doing the right things. I will just throw out everything. I'll call police now, and you are not following the process, everything." So Gaurang Prabhu, with folded hand, he said, he exactly told what he's saying, because I heard this his class physically when he was in Avid's temple. So he folded his hand and he said, like, whatever you want to do, you please do, but take some prasadam. So he said, yeah, so then one devotee brought prasadam in dona. So he liked that prasadam. And then he said, I need another dona because this prasadam is tasty. So then he took three dona prasadam. Then he said, in my car there is a tiffin. Can you fill that out? So devotees were very happy. They said, yeah, we'll fill out. So they filled it out. So he's changed. And he said, do this program very nicely. And if you find any trouble, any problem, call me. I will help you. So the
Very
person
good.
half an hour before who was traveling, he changed it. And I was just analyzing the situation that like Gaurang Prabhu was just surrendering to Krishna. He has also so many contacts. He's from IIT, and Sundar Pichai is his batchmate. And then like Shivraj Singh Chauhan, all CMs, they know him very well. Even POMA calls him. So physically he can apply like all his muscle power and everything. You could have called somebody and say, hey, fix this person. He's troubling us. But he did not take that path. He took the path of Prasadam. So, so he was telling that story actually.
Yes, very nice.
So,
Yeah, if we are surrendered to Krishna, then he gives the intelligence
that's
how
what
to this thing. No, if he had got angry with him, how can he do like this? Why? I'm telling him he's unreasonable. And if he had lost his cool and listened to his mind, then it would have become worse and worse, right?
yes,
Police,
Swami.
whatever, local. And even if he had said, I will call my big guys and all that, power, but okay, maybe at that time you would have this thing, but then this guy will always have an eye of hatred towards ISKCON and would have
Yes.
given a lot of problems. So many things it would have been worse. Yeah.
Yes, Swami. He stopped everything, and that's exactly I was thinking. If he could have used the muscle power, this guy could have some hatred, and he might have thought like, when my turns come, I will, react or retaliate. But he stopped everything, and that
Mm.
too, that guy was scolding left and right in front of 10,000 people. And Prabhuji
Mm.
is being scolded, and he said, just take prasadam and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and it's also the power of prasadam.
Prasadam, yeah.
Prasadam can change people's consciousness completely.
Yes, Swami. Because when this G20 was happening, a lot of CMs were calling BJP state. Actually, last year I met him when I went to there, like Jagannath Puri. So I was fortunate to meet him in airport. So I was asking him, like, he came for that Rath Yatra. He said, no, CM called me, so I came here. So I was thinking, so powerful person materialistically also, Gaurang Prabhu. He's taking
Mm.
that, that way of giving that prasadam. So it was very inspiring actually, and I keep reminding myself that story all the time.
Huh? What?
I keep reminding myself that story all the time.
Ah, yes. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam Mataji.
Danut Pranam. Yes.
Mataji, this Sati, Daksha's daughters, Mataji, Sati's sisters, they all got married to different rishis and all, right, Mataji?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is one more thing, right, Mataji? Daksha Prajapati's daughters married to Chandra, right, Mataji? 27.
Yes,
So
yes.
this is different, Daksha, Mataji?
No, same. Same Daksha.
Okay.
Actually, 2 times. I don't know in which birth we will see. But actually, what happened when Daksha got the goat's head, na, he went back, but then he was he was repenting a lot, and he couldn't actually fulfill that in that life everything, because he had a goat's head and it is not nice. And so he did tapasya, and then he took another birth again as Daksha. So 2 lives of, as Daksha. So that we will see in which life, maybe in one particular life, some daughters, another particular, I don't know. That I'm not very clear about, because that's what, after the goat said, after he took another birth again as Daksha.
Oh, okay, Mataji. And also he has like 1,000 sons first and 10,000 sons first and all. That
Yes,
also, right,
yes.
Mataji?
Yeah.
Okay, Mataji.
That also will come in the Srimad Bhagavatam. For prayers for His Holiness Jeptak Swami, for his complete recovery and good health and longevity, protection from all diseases, and speedy recovery from his illness. Let us chant 3 times Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
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 Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Hare.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dear devotees, I wanted to share that what we are praying, for people, especially Guru Maharaj and everyone, it is so personal. Krishna is really listening. And he, yesterday I had a wonderful experience. We are praying for one couple, every day I say Radhikanath Prabhu and his wife Vrindavan. And yesterday somebody came who stays in the same this thing. So I asked, how are they? And she didn't know. I mean, I couldn't talk to it as because I was also busy. And I said, okay, I'll call you later. I want to know how they are. And at that time, actually, she didn't know anything about them. And I mean, what was the latest, if things had improved. Then in the night, she called me up and she said, Mataji, out of the blue, I got an SMS saying their status, how they are, and it had improved. Okay. And she said, I don't know why I got this. You asked me in the afternoon, and I get an SMS out of the blue saying their status. So I said, oh, because I didn't ask you out of gossip or something, or just like that, or just socializing. But I really, because we are praying every day for them, that's why I asked you. And Krishna sent that SMS to inform that it's improving. So Krishna is very much active in our prayers. So please feel, that all our prayers are being heard by Krishna, and he's acting. Okay, thank you for chanting for Guru Maharaj. Now we go for all Prabhupada disciples.